Okay. Good evening. I now call this special meeting of the Cleveland ISD Board of Trustees to order. Today is Monday, February 2nd, 2026. The time is 6:02 p.m. We're going to start off. Ms. Bethany Porter is going to lead us in prayer. Thank you. We will now open the floor for public comments. So no one's speaking. That concludes public comments. We will now proceed to Section 5 workshop session. We will start the presentations with Dr. Barnes.
Thank you, Board. Thank you guys for being here this evening for our special workshop called our Strategic Roundtable. This will be our first roundtable, but not the last, of course. And it's an opportunity for us to, as a teaching and learning department, provide an update to you in a manner in which you can ask some questions if necessary. We can provide some clarifying information on our mid-year updates in the district. Okay, on the first slide, what we're going to bring to you in February as a part of our informational items is our strategic direction scorecard. This is basically our strategic plan that we've been working on the last few months. All the departments have been working together, and we'll bring this information item. We'll ask that you vote to accept it in our March meeting, and this will be our priorities and then our strategic objectives. And tonight, the first objective you get an opportunity to hear about, which is accelerating achievement and learning outcomes for all of our students. Along with that accepting of the strategic plan in March, or those objectives, we're going to create a calendar. And so what you'll see tonight will be ongoing throughout the year. I have a sample here for you. And what occurs is, with each of the priorities, is no longer something we're going to put on the shelf that you won't hear about. You'll get updates throughout the year. The second column there is an admin team report. And basically what would occur is the report that you receive, let's say in January, it will be presented to the administrative team in December by that person or that department. And so we create a cadence on all 5 of the objectives. And so throughout the year, you'll know exactly where we are as a school district on the goals that we have set, any adjustments or anything that needs to be made. And with that, I'm going to turn over tonight's presentation to Dr. Davila, and she will start with the first priority, which is exceptional student performance, and is accelerating student achievement and learning outcomes.
Good evening, Board, and good evening, President Sampson, members of the Board of Trustees, Dr. Barnes. I am Dr. Josefa Davila. I'm the Chief Academic Officer, and today I'm going to be talking to you about 1.1, Accelerating Achievement and Learning Outcomes for All Students. This semester, we have focused very strongly on our instructional model that we have created this school year, high-quality instruction and HQIM only. When it comes to our instructional model, we wanted to ensure that we had a model where the expectation was that teachers they would execute a gradual release, ensuring that we were teaching the objective. So with the graduate release, we have an I do, a we do, and a you do. So the I do is to ensure teachers explicitly teach the objective to our students, not just going over the work that the students have to do, but actually teaching the objective. And also with the we do, ensuring that the students have at least three times to practice, which we call that at-bats. So the teacher walks around, they're aggressively monitoring and providing feedback. If we see that the student is missing a skill or that the students are just not getting it, the teacher will come back to the front of the room and do a reteach before we release them to do their work as their you do, which is independently. This is, once they go independently, they do not get any feedback. The teacher continues to aggressively monitor to see where the kid is performing so that when we do our intervention, we are already prepared for that. We have done extensive work also around high-quality instruction, which I'm sure you heard the term internalization. We do that through professional learning communities, and that is when the teacher and the leaders at the campus have an opportunity to view the lesson. In some of our HQIMs, we do have some scripted versions, but we have to add to it, right? Because our students are at different levels. So this is the opportunity that we have to ensure that we're asking high-level questions and that we're adding at least 2 scaffolds. So 2 scaffolds, that means that we have already determined what are two skills that our students are going to need in order to be successful ahead of time. So we are incorporating this through our internalization. And also coaching in the moment. Some of you have had the opportunity to be a part of that, where the leader, not necessarily just the campus leader, but we also have our directors and our specialists that are in the classrooms, and they are providing coaching in the moment to our teachers. And that's to ensure that we're not wasting any time, that if we see something that we can change in the moment, that is being done immediately versus waiting 2 or 3 days to have that conversation. Now, sometimes it is very egregious where we have to come back to PLC and we have to model and we have to redo the internalization so that we are successful. In this case, depending on the case, we also have the leader or the specialist or whoever is supporting that teacher to model to ensure that we are providing effective instruction to our students. The other initiative that we have this school year is high-quality instructional materials, ensuring that we're only using HQIM, because HQIM is what we can support as a district. We also have spent a lot of money in professional development and training, and this is the only product that we can ensure is rigorous and that it is aligned to the TEKS, which nothing is perfect. We've had to change a few things, tweaked a few things, but we do that ahead of time so that our teachers are prepared for their instruction during the week and during the day.
Pause you one second. I forgot one thing to share with the board. On your staple sheet, there's a second page. Anytime you have a question as a presentation is being made, if you'll add that question in, and then what I want to do is collect all of those questions, and we're going to give them T&L time to formulate the responses and get that back to you as a Google Doc. So just.
So we're just putting our questions here, not asking our questions directly?
Yeah, if you have one that, something that they could probably answer like right off the cuff like that, you can ask it. But if you have an in-depth question, then I would ask you to write it down, and that way they can take that, and within a day, we'll get that information back to you guys. So if you have a question, don't think you can't ask it. But if you have something that you feel like, hey, what is the process around, let's say in coaching in a moment. Can you give me more information about coaching in a moment? Then they can take that, give you a whole descriptor on it, and add it in. But you can, if you have a question, feel free to ask them.
All right, good evening, President Sampson, members of the Board of Trustees, Dr. Barnes, and district staff. My name is Danielle Thorpe, and I am the Elementary Director of Curriculum and Instruction, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you tonight regarding our iReady data. So iReady is our diagnostic tool that we use for kindergarten through 8th grade. We have just closed out that window. We officially closed it on Friday, and we had a few kids that were absent, or the ice day, snow day kind of impacted that. So we did have some testing that occurred today. So with that data, what you're seeing in front of you is the middle of the year district growth. what I've done is we have pulled Cleveland Middle School, Santa Fe Middle School, and all 6 elementary schools. And what you're looking at is the annual typical growth. And the way I would think about annual typical growth is think about it like a baseball season. And you're going to think to yourself, this baseball season is 100 games. And right now, at this point in time, we are at the All-Star break. We are about 50 games in, okay? What you're looking for are the schools that are making that growth, that are going to push them into the second half of the season and straight into the playoffs. So right now, we know for sure Southside Primary, if you look at them, they are showing high indicators that they are World Series bound. But if you look at Santa Fe Middle School, Cleveland Middle School, we know that those are areas that we've got to do some work, and we've got to get some pieces working through that. Okay, when you look at the percentage met, what you're seeing there, those are the percentage of the kids that were assessed that have actually already met their typical growth goal. So that is a very good indicator. But I want to point your attention to the student assessed total. You're looking at 35% at Santa Fe Middle School, 35% of 1,178 kids. So about 200 kids across 6th, 7th, and 8th grade that are meeting that typical growth. We know that we need to see it higher, right? Your annual stretch growth, as you keep moving, those are the kids that have already met that typical growth, and now we're going to push them further, okay? And then it continues to show you the meet and then the amount of students that improved their placement. This view right here shows you a view of where students are placed as far as grade level. So this is the entire district. You'll notice that 6,950 kids out of 8,000 that were assessed. Our kindergarten iReady window opened today. We test kindergarten a little bit outside of the window for the 1st through 8th graders because we start it later in the year, and you want about 15 weeks of instruction between each assessment. So that's why you're not seeing kindergarten yet. What you will see is that 2,306 students are 3 or more grade levels below in reading. Okay, we acknowledge that that is something that we have to push through, and that is why we are putting in the systems that Dr. Davila discussed to help support that student growth. Whenever you look at math, it's the same analogy, thinking about the baseball season. You'll see very similar data. Again, Southside Primary, they are definitely World Series bound. We are seeing that a huge chunk of their kids are on track to make that growth by the end of the school year. Santa Fe Middle School, you will see that is a 0%. Whenever you're thinking about typical growth, you're really looking at the median. So that means the median score for kids at Santa Fe is a 0%. Although you do see 24% of the kids have met the goal, again, that's a small number of that total. For the grade level placement, again, similar. We are seeing larger gains in math. About 1,685 kids are 3 or more grade levels below, and we are seeing that push into the yellow where they're 1 grade level below. We're getting a bigger chunk of students in there. So that is an area that we will continue to work on and push through. This is another visual to really help you guys understand what that medium progress looks like. So think of it like you have these students are in your class and you're going to line them up based on this is the highest I scored down to this student scored the lowest, your middle student. And then this time of year, we're a little over halfway through the school year, so you're about at 57%. You're going to really worry about those students that are at the 45% below. Those are the kids that we're really targeting in and focusing on. The rest of those kids, they're going to be okay. They're making progress towards that goal.
Good evening. Dr. Brenda Arteaga. I am the Secondary Curriculum Director. And thank you for being here with us tonight, President Sampson, board members. We're going to take a look at district-wide IXL data. This is focused on our high school level, and we are going to be taking a look at our reading, language, arts, and math tonight. So I wanted to, the fine print here you'll have to forgive, but essentially these are the guidelines for IXL. So I pulled the 9th and the 10th grade, and then I put an example here for you on the side. A score of 500 shows 5th grade readiness, so beginning of 5th grade essentially, and a score of 900 shows 9th grade readiness. So when you think about, for example, our Algebra 1 kids, just the regular kids that are in 9th grade, not our 8th graders taking Algebra 1, they should be somewhere around 900. Same for our English 1 students, they should be somewhere around the 900 level. Steady growth would mean that we're adding plus 10 per month, and that would be starting at the level that they would be at. So here we have our overall Algebra 1, beginning of year and middle of year. You can see that on the BOY score, it was 510, which means somewhere around the beginning of 5th grade level, and 540 for middle of the year. So between those months that they took beginning of the year, middle of the year, we should have at least seen a plus 10 growth there. So that's lacking, and it was low to begin with. 9th grade English 1 overall, BOY, MOY, you see similar scores here, 510 and 533. And then our 10th grade English 2 overall is a little bit higher, but they are also in 10th grade, so we should be seeing scores around 1,000 to begin with for that BOY. And that's the overall view for the IXL data.
So what you will get, we will have a deeper dive view that you'll be able to dig in by campus, by grade level for iReady data and IXL data, as well as a few other data points. This brings us to the seeking new adoptions. So our K-8 reading language arts curriculum was adopted in 2018. It is time for us to come up for an adoption. And so what that means is we have got to begin thinking about that process. You guys, several of you participated in our math adoption process last year. It'll be very similar to that. What'll happen is we'll begin with the IMRA showcase. And IMRA, those are the instructional material reviews. They're very specific vendors that have been approved, and their products have been approved for us to choose from. So that'll take place at Region 4, February 23rd. From there, we'll name the IMRA approved vendors that we will invite out to Cleveland ISD for our March Cleveland ISD showcase. It'll be open for teachers, staff, and community to come out, similar to the vendor showcase that we had last year with math. They'll bring their products. Teachers will have an opportunity to view and ask questions. IMRA is connected to the LASSO grant. We recently heard today that we did receive some of those awards for that LASSO grant, so we're very excited about that. But with that, we did apply for the RLA Strong Foundations. With money, we know that there are always strings, and one of the strings is the recommendation to use Bluebonnet. Again, a recommendation. The committee choice will be presented to the board at an information session, April 2026. We'll get that on the agenda for that. And then the committee choice will be presented to the board for approval in May. Okay. Questions?
I guess this would be more for our executive principals, and I wrote it down because I wasn't sure if this was long form or short form. Based on the data that we were shown tonight, elementary is on the right track. So what supports did they receive that CMS and SFMS didn't receive or chose not to use? Because they are circling a very scary, scary drain.
Yeah, I'll speak to CMS, and thank you for the question. I think one of the things that we're continuing to work on with all campuses, as it pertains to like our jobs, our roles as executive principals, is to build capacity with our campus leaders as well as our assistant principals around instructional leadership, so that we're providing coaching around Tier 1 instruction with teachers. As you saw, like in the iReady data, part of that data is also building systems for monitoring data. So one of the things that Lane and I know your name, Lane and I are working through is creating action plans based on our MOI data so that we can provide targeted support through intervention for students.
Right. The only thing that I would like to add to that also is tutorials for those students as well, is to make sure that since our window closed on Friday, that we have that action step for our tutorials.
Just
But what
another
about
add-on. Oh,
the
sorry.
principals? So if we're making our teachers own their classroom data, I feel like principals should own their campus data. That's only fair that we hold them to the same standards we hold our teachers. What corrective action can we do to empower them? Because it's either skill or will, but our students are suffering. So do you have a plan?
Okay. Well, part of that process is when we get data is working with principals to create a clear action plan and identify goals. So, math, this is our score. What is our target? What is our target that we need to move and by when? So part of that process for Laney and I is to continue to work with principals around creating a goal. So yeah, and you're right. It is their goal, and they're accountable for their goal on their campus. And so when we see data, we create an action plan on what needs to happen, 6th grade, 7th grade, whatever the grade level is, and what are the actions by leaders to support teachers around moving those numbers.
How quickly is an action going to happen? Because we're weeks out from testing.
Your mic.
How quickly is an action plan going to go into effect when we're only weeks out from testing?
And we have a week off next week.
So immediately, we will be meeting with both principals tomorrow. We have a meeting scheduled to meet with them.
And just to kind of add to that, we met with iReady today. The principals did. We had a virtual for about 2 hours, and they went through the reports as well and also showed them some diagnostic reports that they could drill down to by student, and even the certain lessons that they provided for them as well that they can utilize.
So not trying to step out of governance role, but since this is tied to our strategic scorecard and our district scores, will we be appraised of this corrective plan by the next board meeting on February
before.
17th,
Yeah,
I
you can
think?
share it.
Yes.
You can definitely share that.
Because it's just highly, highly concerning.
No. No, we definitely can have that. We'll get it together. We can share it out through our weekly bulletins. You guys can get it ahead of time as soon as I have it completed. And we'll just kind of have some timelines on it, on the implementation, the follow-ups on it. And, it's going to take some work, and those principals, they were in it today. And of course, a lot of we've been talking about, the changes that have to happen, as you can see, when it's in place is working, and when it's a struggle, it's working. We also looked at some other data. I think it was the middle school and high schools both have some mid-year data numbers that we're going to share in that in a deep dive as well. Those tests were given at the campus level, and it wasn't, I won't say not as with the iRated data, we don't touch it. It happens. Mm-hmm. With the other tests, we have to manually give it, and but they have that data as well. They'll be sharing in that deep dive so you can see. But we definitely have some work to do. There's no doubt about that.
percentages for reading? Is that the percentage for the middle school? I don't have it up here. Yeah.
You had a question about?
On the percent.
That was a
on
question
reading
about the percentages. If you'll go back to
For
the,
reading, for middle school?
go back.
Right there. Go back, right there.
Right there. Oh,
Is that the percentage? I'm kind of
Yeah,
lost a little bit.
yeah,
Let's
it's,
take Cleveland Middle School, annual typical growth, 11%.
yes.
What is
So,
that 11% of the,
so that means that if you're looking at that, about 11% of
66.
the group of the students are on track to meet their goal.
okay, is that the 1,301?
That's 11% of the whole total.
So
And
only-
then of those 11%, 34% of that. So within that 11%, that totals probably about 34% of that, those kids are meeting it.
So only 34% of the 1,301 met the standards?
Progress goal.
Correct. They are on track to meet their growth. They are on track to meet their growth. There are a couple of factors that can impact growth. It can be how the students are performing whenever they are working on their I-Ready pathway. That's something that we are working on monitoring, and what Dr. Barnes addressed with the I-Ready workshop today on how principals can monitor more closely the work that students are doing within that diagnostic. But you're right, it's very concerning.
On the annual stretch growth, you have 4% again out of the 1,301?
Yes, sir. And the
And we have
stretch,
only 10% met,
yes, sir.
so you can virtually say we have a reading problem throughout the district.
Correct. And then whenever you look at the math data, it's very similar.
Okay.
I have a question. What exactly is annual typical growth? Like, where does those numbers come from?
Okay, so annual typical growth, whenever a student takes his I-Ready diagnostic at the beginning of the year, there is a growth score that is assigned to that student. So that would be like Miss Jennifer took her test, and we are predicting that, she may have taken it at the beginning of the year at a fourth grade level. And if she uses the program with fidelity, then we're anticipating she's going to perform at a middle of the year, fifth grade level by the end of the year. And then with with MOY data, what we're doing is, are you making sufficient progress to meet that goal at the end of the year?
Okay, you said using the program with fidelity. And I know in previous years, we've had issues with using things with fidelity. Is the issue that we're seeing more fidelity on the elementary side versus the secondary? Or is it just that secondary had so much to make up for?
I can get you tighter data on the fidelity usage. I don't want to say with certainty at this point that yes, it's a fidelity issue, no, it's not a fidelity issue, because there are pockets of fidelity, but there are, with the information I have right now, there are more areas where there could be a fidelity issue, for sure. We're seeing indicators that we need to revamp how we're doing that, absolutely.
Did we get a copy of this?
Yes, sir. You guys will get a copy of the entire presentation. It'll include this data, and you'll have a lot more data as well. because I asked them to give it to you by campus and also by the tested area.
Now, I just want to inform you, this is preliminary data. The window, we extended the window to Wednesday due to the ISD, and then the Tuesday, we had low attendance. So we opened it for 2 more days, but this is pretty healthy data when it comes to the number of students that have taken it. Pretty much at every school, we're in the 90s, close to 100% of students taking it. I just wanted to give all students an opportunity to either finish the test or those that had not had an opportunity. But, so those numbers are going to change a little bit, but this is pretty healthy data for you to review.
And probably one more thing to add too. One of the things that I already noticed, and there's a report that can show you the kids who are clicking through, right? So you're not taking your time actually doing the test itself. You're done in 2 minutes, and it should take you a class period. And so what they advise us to do is identify those students and have them go back and retest, because what it does, I already takes the information from the mid-year and it builds them out individual pathways, right? And so if you really put your effort into it, no matter where you fail, it should give you a good program to follow forward. If I went in and said, I don't feel like doing this, and I clicked, it's going to drop them down. And so he said, what happened is that pathway then becomes too low for them really to make progress. So on some of those, we're also going to have to go back in and try to identify those kids who just kind of click through and have them retest so we can get them a good pathway moving forward in the spring semester. So just a lot of little nuances that they're working through.
Do we have an improvement point from, this is middle of the year?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we do. We have a beginning of the year, and this will be the middle of the year. And on the slide that's after this one with the colors, it'll show you it'll show you whether we're in the beginning, and then it'll show you whether we're in the middle. This is only you go back one. This is only for the middle of the year, and that's for the entire district. You'll get this slide along with a beginning of the year number, so you'll see where the improvements were made. And just for your records, and we'll add them into the slide too, where you see in green all the way to the far end, the mid or above grade level, with the shaded green areas, that would be the kids who are at like the master's level. The regular green is the kids who are at meets. The yellow would be the kids who are at approaches. And then, of course, the reds are the kids who are below approaches. But you'll see that beginning of the year, mid-year. And kind of like you saw in the last slide, you'll see some campuses where that red is getting smaller, the yellows and the greens are getting bigger, and there are some that it's kind of flat. And those are the ones we're going to have some extra attention being given to over the next couple of weeks.
Next, we'll move into the action items. Item A, consider and take possible action regarding the 2026-2027 academic calendar. We'll hear from Dr. Barnes on that.
Go ahead and do it. Yeah, for the meeting minutes. So you go back and do the consent agenda.
We're gonna go back to move into the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, including the minutes from the regular meeting of January 20th, 2026 as presented?
Motion.
A motion by Jennifer Pena. Second by Pauline Johnson. All in favor? Motion passes 6-0. Now we're moving to action items. Item A, consider and take possible action regarding the 2026-2027 academic calendar.
Thank you, Mr. President. You have in front of you the results of the recent stakeholder survey regarding proposed 26-27 academic calendar. Our administration have actively sought feedback from a diverse cross-section of the community, including parents, staff, students, and community members, to ensure the selected calendar aligns with the preferences and needs of our district. Based on the survey results, the administration recommends approval of option 1 as the official academic calendar for the 26-27 school year.
Is there any further discussion on the proposed calendar? I will now entertain the motion. Do I have a motion to approve the 2026-2027 academic calendar, option 1, as presented?
Motion.
A motion by Bethany Porter,
Second.
second by Jennifer Pena. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor? Motion passes 6-0. There being no further business, do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Motion.
A motion by Bethany Porter. A second by Pauline Johnson. All in favor? Motion passes 6-0.